what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they want to do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shit.
How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Let me ask you guys a question. The very important question. Are we truly supportive of people who move up in rank and take the position that we wanted? Maybe it's a close friend of ours. Are we supportive of that person? Are we showing them love, or are we jealous and envious? I mean, this is going to be a great dialogue. I'm very curious to see where we're going to go. And I do have three very important guests on the show. One who hasn't been on for a while, so let's hope I remember his name. But first, let me introduce world-renowned author Connie Alleyne. Connie, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Connie Alleyne here. I am the founder and president of the Civilian Corrections Academy. I'm also the podcast host of The Fly Behind the Wall and the author of The Cage with Sir Cocoon. So thanks for having me again. It's good to be here. And I'm so happy. I haven't seen Greg in so long. Where's he been?
You ruined the surprise.
Oh, it wasn't a surprise.
There's this one follower I have that loves Greg. No, I'm joking. I'm just joking. Well, now we might as well introduce Greg. Greg Piper. Again, obviously, good to have you on again, Greg. A very big fan of you and also the company you represent, Guardian RFID. Very, very pro when it comes to those working in the front line of corrections, guys. They go above and beyond to make sure that we're safe and appreciated. Hey, Greg, what's up, man? Long time no see.
It has been a minute since I have been able to grace your podcast and to see Connie's beautiful face and your handsome mug as well, Tony. Really excited to be back. We've been very, very busy. I am currently the director of jail operations for Guardian RFID, so I oversee training and making sure that our customers are happy and content and that all of them are safe and getting what they need out of our system, which is designed to digitally transform facilities to assist with inmate tracking and in all other aspects of your inmate conversations throughout your day. We are designing our system to track that, record it, and save it forever.
Yeah, you ended it right when I was.
Yeah, I did that on purpose. I was watching.
Well done. And also, you neglected, because we have a third guest named Andy, and you neglected to say how good looking he is.
Andy is truly probably the best looking of the bunch here, based on the fact that I know you two. Andy is clearly our best looking guest. And I think, Andy, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Greg. And now you're my new best friend, so I appreciate that. Hey, everybody, Andy Anney-Brotz here. I am with jailcommanders.com. Just glad to be on the show. Glad to be in the presence of such royalty here on the show. So thank you very much.
Oh, man.
We are off to a great start, I swear.
You might want to start over, Tony.
No, we're keeping it because my head is big. I want to. Hey, guys, so this is going to be a serious topic because in the end, we're always trying to do things that bring us together. And sometimes we don't realize that there could be things that bring us apart. And I think that this dialogue is really going to talk about what we need to do to make sure that we cultivate supervisors to still stay connected to us. I mean, that really is the key. I mean, we get so upset sometimes because supervisors, they forgot their roots. Well, did we support them, or were we jealous and envious that they got the position, or whatever the position may be? It could even be just a lateral. So this is a great dialogue, definitely a needed dialogue. As always, guys, the show is Tier Talk. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. That bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. We're going to go to our sponsor, and when we come back, we're going to talk about being supportive when someone decides to either move outwards or upwards. I guess that would be the case. Stand by.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it. It's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
All right, and we're back. So real quick, I'll start with Connie first. Connie, we had a really good discussion the other day about this in the car. I think that's what's motivating us have this discussion now. I think the reason why we know this exists is because we're honest with ourselves and we felt it at one point. You know, someone getting the position that we wanted and we felt a certain way about it. So honestly, do you think that this type of dialogue is definitely needed?
I mean, I think it's needed because, as we know, our system, like, positions are limited, right? And so, you know, if everyone's kind of aiming or angling for those next few steps or slots that are open, the reality is that there's going to be some competition or this feeling of competition in the midst. And, you know, there may be some harsh feelings along the way if somebody doesn't get the position. I know I had the experience of moving into a role that I knew, like, some of my colleagues wanted. And you know, I would like to think that we were able to be still supportive of each other and things kind of evolved in a positive space. But there were a few people who weren't too happy about that, right? Because they really wanted the position. And so it's kind of something that we have to learn how to deal with, just because our system doesn't necessarily have a lot of seats available, you know?
Yeah, you're hitting it right on the head, because maybe I can go with Greg and Andy right after, because I know jails, I could be wrong. I mean, states are bigger, a lot of opportunities there. But I know jails could have limited opportunities. You have people that could be sitting in positions for years. So there could be limited growth, and then with limited resources. What I mean by that is limited growth and then also desperation. You know, so partner that up, limited resources to move up and desperation. Is it possible to truly be supportive of someone that could be taking a position that now you can never get? Greg, would you like to, go first?
Well, one of the advantages I have, I guess, is the fact that I did work at a state facility for many, many years, and I also worked at a county facility. And because of my opportunities to go to so many different facilities across the country in my current role, I see exactly what you're referring to. These smaller facilities that have maybe a couple of lieutenants and then a captain, and then it's right to chief deputy and sheriff. And there is not a lot of room for that upward mobility. And so if you're looking for that opportunity to be promoted and somebody beats you out, whether it's due to number of years or the old boy network, or they're just a better officer, any way we look at it, what truly has to happen for us is we have to be comfortable in the role we're in. So it shouldn't matter who's got stripes or who's got brass on the collar. You still are going to be an asset to the facility, regardless of your rank. But it doesn't take away from that human competitiveness that if somebody outranks you, there is always going to be a little bit of tension, a little bit of uncomfortableness, if you will. I think the true professionals will go above and beyond that. But it does happen on a regular basis that somebody gets a promotion that we wanted and we become frustrated and almost disinterested. And we're already in an industry that has a high turnover rate, and we start losing people who are high quality and high caliber officers to dissatisfaction because they didn't get a promotion. Now we're looking at an uphill battle as an administrator.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, that's where I kind of want to. Andy, just out of curiosity, I mean, when you have a facility that may have that limited mobility, right? Again, smaller numbers, smaller openings. How do you kind of motivate staff to still have that incentive to, for growth? I mean, if the opportunities aren't there, is there a way to balance that?
Yeah, and that's really hard to answer because not all of your county jails are 2,000 to 3,000 bed facilities. Majority are mid to smaller jails, such as a Midwestern jail where I'm from. And, so you're going to have maybe 3 or 4 people go out for a supervisory position, let's say. And, the question is, hey, the written test is coming up. So what do you guys think about that? And it's all supportive in the very end. But when the numbers come out, when that list comes out in the very end, and you didn't get it, there's always going to be that, tension or animosity as to why or what makes them better than me type situation. So it's definitely a tense situation. I love what Greg said, though. We're always kind of criticized anyway, but as that tension builds with the supervisory positions or just moving up to that next spot, it is tough in a county jail.
Yeah, you know what? This is just what I'm thinking, and I could be wrong, but if you have, let's say, a smaller facility, right? And obviously there's limited movement. sometimes I think it would be good if you ask people why, when they don't get the position, because Andy, you're 100% correct. You see a lot of people working together, studying, helping each other out because you see it, and be honest with you, during those moments when these tests are given, staff's on point because they're studying, they know the rules, they're looking for any chance to learn because at the end, their outcome, they want to get that rank. But then when the results come in and they find out they didn't get it, all of a sudden the effort gets minimized because I didn't get promoted. But there was 3 months of hard work and studying that actually made you better, in regards to what you're doing now that you're totally disregarding because you're so focused on the outcome that you're eliminating the process or your personal progress. So what I would do honestly is I would like to think when you ask people when they move up, I would like to think that the true reason for them moving up has nothing to do with more money. I hope it's not, because that's superficial. Trust and believe if that's what it is and you go through some hard times in this profession, that money's not going to hold you up, guys. Or I want authority over people. I mean, me and Connie discussed that. If there's a way that, however you define impact, it could be defined many ways, but maybe impact with others or impact on safety and security. Maybe there's other things that we could offer, like committees or stuff like that, that can give that person some level of leadership control. Not saying that you need the position to be a leader, but sometimes you got to find something that you feel has value. I think Greg said that too, where, giving them something that they have value in. So maybe if I can't seek that promotion, that doesn't mean that's the end of you trying to find some value within this profession. Maybe we can go ahead and see if there's committees that we can form that's around something you're passionate about. Connie, what's your thoughts on kind of looking to the left and right as opposed to going up?
So, the first thing that came to mind was just the importance of that frontline supervisor, right? Because when those results come out, and I think you can kind of anticipate that those who don't get selected, there are going to be some issues with remaining motivated. And so I think that as those supervisors engage with the staff, it's important to know them well enough to be able to identify those things that could be still sort of the glimmers of hope, where you can still use certain aspects of their work that you can still highlight or recognize how great they've been doing all along. I feel like we may underestimate how important just the acknowledgement of someone's hard work and their dedication and their commitment and their sacrifices along the way have been. I think it's okay that we acknowledge that there is a disappointment, but I feel like there's also this way that we also have to continue to build people up and make them feel, or at least encourage them in that thought process of you're still doing meaningful work, even though you might not have gotten this position. So I feel like, yes, there is that point where you look kind of left and right to see, are there ways that we can create sort of these, I don't know if they're necessarily groups or what kind of thing we could create, right? Because we know there's different committees throughout many facilities, but usually those committees already have X amount of people on them, right? And yes, you are looking to make sure the committees don't sort of die down, right? So there's always good to kind of put some fresh blood in there. But for some people, as much as that's, I think a good opportunity, they may not feel as incentivized by that. So I think it's kind of finding the balance of how do we recognize and give them the positive reinforcement, but at the same time, looking for those alternatives that still make them feel or give that feeling of meaningful work and, showing appreciation.
I love that, Connie. And what's funny is some people say, well, I wanted to move up because I want a level of freedom. Authority doesn't mean freedom. Those two words are not the same. People need to know that. Sometimes more authority means less freedom. You just don't realize it. Hey, Greg, I want to ask you, because Connie touched on something that I think is extremely important. So, and Andy actually started with it as well, so you have everybody working together as one, trying to study, trying to help each other pass the exam. And I would like to think it's truly supportive, but you could have those people that are just kind of information. Let me get information and then kind of play the role. But at the end, if you have such a competitive environment, my concern is we start hiding information and we're not helping each other. That's why you got to be careful when you start telling people, hey, you're the best at this or you're the best at that, because sometimes they may want to hold on to that title. And next thing you know, they're not sharing out information because they're more concerned about the title of being the best as opposed to being part of a team. But do you actually think that there is a tremendous crash when the results come out and these people are not selected but the one?
Well, based on my personal experience, and this goes back to my DOC days, because as Andy mentioned, there's probably 3,600 jails across the country and maybe 500 prisons. And I'm estimating the prisons, but I know in the jails, there's like 3,600. And the majority of those, the vast majority, have under 200 inmates and are very small staffed. So there's not a huge pool. There's not this testing. There's not this grading curve. It's really, they're picking one person that maybe just went up for it or been there a while. So there's a difference there. But in those situations where there is a pool, and there are people, and there is a studying. In my personal experience, I was outclassed or bested on a couple of different interviews. And I remember thinking to myself, well, I'm better than that guy, and feeling disheartened and feeling disheveled. And it was okay to be in that moment, congratulate that person, but then be in those feelings for a minute. One, because I wanted to be better, but it had nothing to do with that person. The person that got the role, the person that won the position, they didn't do it out of spite for me. They didn't do it as an attack against me. But I should use it as fodder and as energy and as encouragement to be better and to do better next time, but also to build that person up, because now they are in a position of authority. They will help me because they'll be able to grow into the position that I want to grow into eventually. So yeah, that disappointment, very natural. It's going to happen, but to subvert them, to undercut them, or to hold them personally responsible for getting a position you wanted, no, that's ridiculous.
That's powerful, because Andy, I know we touched on this before, but you actually, same thing as Greg, you've felt that, right? You've gone for a lot of higher positions. I'm sure there have been times where you were set back. And what was the initial feelings, and how were you able to speak to the person, or what did you feel about the person that got the position over you?
Well, I remember particularly the promotional process I went out for. There were 3 people, including myself, that went out for this particular position. And when the results came out, it was pretty, the process was pretty simple. It was just an interview with administration. And when the results came out, I was last. Of course, I had been there the least amount of time, but I thought I had, was working my tail off, getting the best out of everything. So I went to the jail commander at the time and I asked him, why didn't I make it? And the response was, it was simply that person's time. So right then, without going into much detail, there wasn't much fairness and consistency in that administration. However, that was just my time to work harder, to get better. And when that next process came out, then I would be more towards the top. But one of the things as administration I've found important, I've been running promotional processes for the last 9 years in the jail, is after the results come out, you pull each person in individually to go over their results. And I do that on purpose because I don't want them to tank. I don't want them to start looking for other work because they're so put out by not getting that position, whether they were second or last or whatever the case may be. So I purposely put off showing every person the results until the very end. I pull them in, I say, hey, I've been there, done that. I can empathize with you. Here are the things to work on, ask questions, just get better and be ready for the next time, because there will be a next time. And like Greg said, the majority of the jails are smaller. Turnover rates are larger sometimes. So that position is going to come up quicker. And staff do know that. So again, I think in the end, putting your arm around that officer that didn't make it and just reassuring them that there will be another time, work harder. You're a good officer. You're still here, and, we'll get it next time.
I think about also what's great about what you do and meeting the people at the individual level, if your facility is not that big. But even if it is big, maybe there are certain ones that are taking it a certain way. And if you find out it's always good to have that one-on-one dialogue. But you can even get to ask them how they justify their feelings. Like, you know, do you feel that it's your fault that you didn't get the position? Or like in Andy's case, it was just this person's time. I mean, think about that though. You know, you could leave that room thinking it was me and I'll never get it, or it wasn't me and one day I could. So internal versus external justifications. And we could guide people into that. You know, it would be great if someone pulled me in and said, hey, real quick, you did great. But again, it just wasn't your time. I could take that as, okay, it's not the end of the road for me. As opposed to someone coming out and, you know, you're thinking it's all you, and the person goes, yeah, you know, you could have done better. You messed up. And, you know, that all of a sudden a person that you need to lift up, you kind of, you know, push them down. But Connie, what's your thoughts? I love what Andy does. What's your thoughts in helping someone understand, you know, maybe how to feel about the process? So eventually, maybe if they feel positive about themselves, then they have the ability to be positive towards someone else who got it. Because think about it this way real quick, is that if I feel that I didn't get the position because I'm just not worthy of it, that means that the person that got it is a reminder of what I can't do.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the personal touch is always important. I think in this instance, you know, people don't want to feel like they're just a number. And so the fact that you could take the time and give personal feedback, which means I actually know your work quality, right? I actually know what you produce. I actually know how you operate. And so I'm giving you meaningful feedback as opposed to just that everything is going to be okay, right? Like, and I think that, you know, people can see through that sort of everything's going to be okay versus, so here's where we could help to develop you, or here's where, you know, we can support you further for more growth. I think when we take the time to acknowledge the person and almost, I don't want to say validate the feelings because they don't need validation, but I think it's almost just recognizing that there is a disappointment and we do want to support that person through the process, as opposed to it's posted and you just go off about your way and try to manage that. Because I'm just thinking you're dealing with the disappointment of that situation, in addition to having to probably report to one of your colleagues, right? Like, because ultimately that is going to come into play as well. Someone who you worked alongside has now gotten this promotion, and they may not necessarily get transferred to another facility. So this will be a constant reminder that you didn't get the position that you were going out for. And so there has to be ways, I think, that we start to talk to staff and really kind of prepare them for what the future looks like, right? And I think it's better if we can be proactive and have those conversations up front, so staff at least know what they can do to develop for the future, as opposed to not knowing what they're going to be able to do to be better for the next time.
Connie, you went to portrait mode.
I don't know what happened just now.
But your voice was always heard throughout the whole time, just your lips stopped moving at one point. So I almost called a medical code. Okay. Hey, you know, I do want to touch on something that I love what Connie said, but I also want to kind of build again on what Andy said, because I don't think this is done a lot. I know a lot of places where you go out for interviews and you study, you work your ass off, but if you don't get it, they don't even call you. You know, it's just like, sorry. And you never know. The only people that get the calls are the ones that eventually get the job. So the one person who may need that call back, because maybe they don't know what they did wrong, and they need someone to kind of, you know, hey, this is what I could do better. Because if not, a lot of them will internalize it. A lot of people, they could be one hell of it, but they're their worst critic, and they go out like, oh man, I could have did it. Hey, calm down. Whatever happens, happens. But we never, I think for those that don't get the position, a lot of agencies, and tell me if I'm wrong, Greg, I don't think they call back the people that don't get it to look to motivate them to see if maybe these are areas that you could work on like Andy did. I think that would be a very good improvement for morale.
We got calls notifying us that we didn't get the job, but it wasn't, hey, you didn't get the job and let's talk about some ways, some areas that you can improve, because there were some things you really brought up that were great. There wasn't that. It was just, hey, the other person got the position, so thank you very much for your consideration. And that was kind of the end of it. The door was open. You could go visit with human resources to talk about your interview. And I think that's great. I just don't think people took advantage of that. and people do. I think what's brilliant about when you watch a professional football game is you literally can see the results on the field of whether a play was successful or whether a play was unsuccessful. So you can use that as you continue to work yourself. It's just like an after action when we have a use of force. We review the video, we watch to see what we did correctly, what we did incorrectly, and how we can do better next time. That's how we train, that's how we get better. Well, in interviewing, there is no after action. And I think there needs to be, because the more we review ourselves, the more we train ourselves, the more we practice and get better at things, the better we and more prepared we can be to run facilities.
Hey, Andy, I see that you're in agreement with obviously what Greg is saying. What's your thoughts on what he's saying?
Yeah, especially coming into an entry-level position in law enforcement or corrections in general. You got a lot of younger staff that are really eager to get into law enforcement, whatever they're using it for, whether they want to make it a career in corrections or whether they want to step up and go somewhere else, it doesn't matter. But you don't want them to get discouraged. So, I do think calling them back, telling them, where to work on next time, or, hey, we're going to have another process here coming up, apply again. I think that's going to keep them motivated to kind of stay in the door with law enforcement as opposed to seeking another career because they think law enforcement doesn't care about them.
Yeah, and before we wrap up discussion, I just have one more thing that I thought we can go around the table with real quick is the importance of really supporting the person that's taking it to the next step. Because having said that, this is when the person could become isolated. I mean, granted, the person does well on the test. I mean, you're right. Not everybody that takes the test is going to be the best person. But if this is how the agency awards the position, then the person got the position. Now, we could, be resistant. We could be jealous. We could be envious. Or we could work and try to cultivate that person. So we have someone that's up top that remembers who we are, as opposed to someone looking to, let me become a supervisor so I can just, move myself away from these individuals. I'm sure that could be a momentum, especially, or a motive if you have some people that are just not supportive of you. And now it's like, you know what? I'm done. We'll see when I become a supervisor. But look at the mentality there, as opposed to, going with the mentality like, you guys cared, you guys supported me, I'm going to do the same for you, because there's that loyalty that, it's like you have to give back. But then if you choose not to be supportive, and I decide to move up, I have no loyalty to you, and whose real fault is that? You didn't welcome me in. And by the way, someone that's new to that supervisory position, especially the transition from frontline to the supervisory role, because that's the biggest jump. So let's say officer to sergeant or officer to colonel, whatever that first jump is, they're vulnerable. They want support. They want to be supported. And if you just decide to push them away because in your own head, you think you deserve the position, well, the problem is you're going to find someone up there that's going to say, well, you know what? I don't need you because you don't need me. Connie, what's your thoughts on really embracing and showing support? And if you don't, what's the end result?
So I think showing support is critical, particularly because that person who's making that jump doesn't realize just how much responsibility is in that role. I think that there's a lot of people who think I can be the supervisor until they become the supervisor and they realize just how much they don't know. I mean, I know when I stepped into role as a manager, I was like, oh, I didn't know we did this. They're like all these gaps in our knowledge that we don't realize exist until we start doing the work. And so when we're not supported, we become more vulnerable because we're making decisions with misinformation or lack of information. We don't have a full picture, and then we don't have resources that we can tap in order to fill those gaps to make sure that we aren't making missteps that could probably end us up in a dangerous situation, right? Because I think the other thing that goes with that is as you step into that leadership role, people need to be able to trust that you know your stuff, right? And so people aren't going to follow you when they doubt that you are knowledgeable enough, right? And so I think that's something else that comes into play as this manager steps in. So I think the more that they feel supported as they're stepping into this new role, the more that they kind of build that confidence and they build that knowledge base. And the following isn't just because they have a title, but it's more because we actually believe this person is capable of doing the work and we want to support them.
I love what Connie says, because a lot of people don't realize, and Greg, I'm sure you can elaborate on this, that supervisors need positive reinforcement as well.
You know, we always talk about in correctional facilities, larger facilities, that the best job was always the lieutenant, because you had all the authority, none of the responsibility. And the worst job is the sergeant, because you take the butt chewings from the captains and the lieutenants, but you're not supposed to chew on your staff. You're supposed to encourage and uplift and build those people up. So that is such a hard transition, because you were on the front lines with them. Now you're responsible. You're not supposed to chew their butt, but you got the captain and lieutenant just hammering on you constantly. So it is a rough transition. But yes, we do need to pull aside our supervisors. And I'm talking about anybody who's a corporal, a sergeant, a staff sergeant, any of those mid-level roles. And once in a while say, hey, good call, Sarge. That was a good call on your part. Hey, I really support you on that decision, because we are not in an environment like a insurance agency or working at a Walmart. We're in a jail. We're in a prison. And suddenly, if we don't have the back of every single person in uniform, and we decide, you know what, that sergeant make a dumbass decision, and I somehow let that be known to the inmates, I have totally fractured that dynamic, and now they're going to use that against us. If only there was a book where we could read about how inmates will use that and manipulate how our relationship. Oh, wait, there is a book that tells us that. Anyway, I digress. So the point is, we need to stay focused on uplifting our supervisors and not letting the inmates manipulate the situation.
You're talking about a book that I forgot to mention in the show called Inmate Manipulation, Decoded? I forget sometimes, but thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Links in the description.
Hit that bell.
Yeah, hit the bell. Hey, Andy. So, I mean, obviously, and obviously, before we come to a close, our last question for Andy real quick is, you know, when we build that connection, you know, especially when we're studying and we're trying to work together, how do you keep it going up until that person, or to include past, obviously, that person winning the position or being awarded the position? How do you keep people still connected to really show that they're truly supportive of, you know, the process and the outcome?
I think it's important to remind people about what they're there for. Remind them about why we do our jobs. You know, what are we here for? Is there a vision that we're going for? Are there missions, goals, you know, objectives, whatever? Keep that mindset on them as well. So when that time comes that they go up for that position and they fail, they still are a part of something. And I think that's important to let people know that. But real quick though, before I go, Greg, I'm a captain, so I love to think that you think I chew sergeants' asses now. So I greatly appreciate that. No, but seriously, you know, just keeping everybody involved, keeping everybody a part of the team. That way, when it comes crashing down at the end, you know, you can kind of pick your people up and say, let's keep stomping forward. Let's go.
Hey, let's be honest, though. Some people do deserve their ass to be chewed just a little bit. Andy, you look like you're in a movie theater.
In a movie theater?
Yeah, it looks like you're in a, does anybody think like you're in a movie theater a little bit? Yeah. Hey, I just again in closing. So Andy, jailcommanders.com website's doing good, I'm sure. Anything you'd like to say to our audience in closing? Maybe again how they can get onto the website?
Yeah, just go to jailcommanders.com, register, become a part of the community. It's great information out there. It's corrections based. If you're prior corrections and want to get back into the know, feel free to come on. And I have people from all over the place. I've got a new update. I have some people from the Netherlands that have viewed the site, and that's pretty cool. So again, thanks for having me on, Anthony. It's been great, and love it.
Always a pleasure, Andy. You know that. And congratulations on your site. I'm sure you should be very close to, if not over 100 by now. Let's keep it going to 1,000. What do you have? What's your number, Andy?
I have 91.
He's getting there, so maybe we'll get a few more from this show. Hey, Greg, anything you'd like to say in closing?
Yeah, I wanted to point out that we've talked about supporting those people when you don't go up for a post. You know, support those folks and try and encourage them and grow in your own career, regardless of whether you got the promotion or not. But I wanted to take just a minute and mention that all those folks who didn't go up for the position, don't criticize who got the promotion. That's one thing I can't stand is when somebody says, oh, I can't believe such and such got promoted to captain. Well, did you put in for it? No? Then shut up. So if you didn't go in for it, keep your mouth shut and keep marching forward.
You know what's funny? That was discussed today with me today. I don't know if I got it through a text or something, but, or maybe that was you, but you're right. 100%. I forgot about that. You know, there are a lot of people that don't make the effort, but love to, complain about those who did. Hey, you know what? You're not even in a position to say anything, to be honest with you. You know, you didn't make the effort. So, you know, very hypocritical. Hey, Connie, author of The Cage Was a Cocoon. Anything you'd like to say in closing?
I just want to say, listen, just try to be supportive of people. You know, we all have our own career ambitions. I think at the end of the day, certainly, as we know, our system doesn't have many spots at the top. You want to make sure you support those people that are up there, because ultimately the decisions that they make are going to impact you and your everyday operation. And so, you know, if you allow them to be disconnected from you, that's just understanding they're going to be disconnected from the realities of how you need to be supported in order to be effective.
Yeah, and guys, just on my end, I think that when you support somebody moving up and you show them that loyalty and that love, they will always, I would like to think, that they will always feel that sense of obligation to give back. And we're not inmates, guys. It's okay for us to want to have that. You know, I'm the front line. I've been loyal to you. I do expect some type of loyalty back. But if you're not, then again, you can't be in the shadows pissing and moaning because, you know, you're not being treated fairly by someone you never showed support to the whole time. You know, in the end, I know for a fact, guys, this is true. I even in my position now on the administrative level, I'm still very humble to the officers who follow up on me. And we've competed for the same positions, but in the end, they're very curious about how I'm doing. They follow up, and you can see that they genuinely care. And when I see them, I don't see position. I still see family, support, love, and it motivates, guys. It motivates enough for Greg to leave the room. I don't know if everybody saw that, but you guys
Yes.
but Greg just disappeared. But as always, guys, the show is here. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. Bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. Stay safe.